Welcome to this explainer. We're jumping right into the wild, unkempt history of human hair, or actually the surprising lack of it. You know that classic image of the tangled, overgrown caveman? Well, we're about to completely dismantle that. As you'll see, the archaeological evidence paints a highly structured and honestly pretty stylish picture. Let's kick things off with what sounds like a totally ridiculous question. Did cavemen actually have a skincare or grooming routine? I mean, it sounds like a cartoon setup, right? But to really get a handle on prehistoric life, we've got to challenge those modern biases and look closely at the physical evidence they actually left behind. Section 1. The myth of the caveman. For generations, we've literally pictured our ancient ancestors as these giant walking balls of wild hair roaming the savannas. We just kind of assume that because they lacked modern tech, they simply let nature run its course. But the reality? They weren't just barely scraping by. They were actively maintaining themselves as, frankly, early grooming innovators. Which brings us to Section 2, the biological need to groom. Here's the thing. Grooming wasn't some prehistoric luxury. It was absolutely crucial for survival. Think about it. Human hair naturally stays on the skin for about 2 to 7 years before shedding. Try to imagine thick, unwashed hair surviving in the wild for 7 years. The biological hazards are no joke. We're talking severe irritation, massive lice infestations, dandruff, and really serious skin problems. So, purely from a survival standpoint, they literally had to cut their hair just to stay functional. Let's move right into Section 3, Stone Age salon tools. So we understand why they needed to cut their hair. Now let's look at how. It's incredible to see how they ingeniously repurposed natural objects to basically mirror the tools you'd find in a high-end salon today. Got a stray hair you need to pluck? No problem. They used oyster shells, pinching them together to grip and pull. Need a close shave? Forget metal razors. They were using razor-sharp stones and animal teeth. It's the exact same functionality we use today, just powered entirely by nature. Just take a look at these actual sharp stones recovered from digs. Excavations confirm a wild fact. The edges on these prehistoric tools were every bit as sharp as the modern salon razors that hairdressers use right now. They absolutely weren't just hacking away at their heads with blunt rocks. They were making super precise, clean cuts with meticulously crafted stone blades. To put that timeline into perspective, razor-sharp stone tools just like these were discovered on the shores of Lake Turkana in Kenya, dating back a staggering 3.3 million years. Millions of years! We're talking about hominids utilizing tools capable of cutting hair long before modern humans even existed. It was, in a way, the world's very first barber shop. All right, on to Section 4, crafting the prehistoric comb. Because they didn't stop at just chopping hair off to avoid lice. They were actively detangling and styling it. And as this breakdown shows, they utilized surprisingly durable natural materials to do it. They started with what was obvious in nature, fish bones. I mean, a fish skeleton naturally mimics the tines of a comb, right? Over time, they leveled up, carving structured combs out of animal bones, using incredibly tough materials like ivory for hair accessories, and carving wood for daily grooming. They essentially turned their natural surroundings into functional beauty tools. And wow, look at this beautifully carved bone comb. It perfectly highlights the sophistication and real care our ancestors put into their hair. Notice the uniform tines and that really smooth handle. That is not some rough makeshift survival tool. That's a dedicated personal care object. It clearly shows that prehistoric folks really valued how a well-groomed head of hair looked and felt. Which leads us perfectly to Section 5, proof in ancient art. Now, you might be thinking, okay, they had the tools, but where's the actual visual proof that hairdressing was an established, everyday practice? Well, it starts with prehistoric rock art. In cave paintings from around 30,000 BCE, archaeologists have found depictions of faces that are completely 100% beardless. This strongly suggests these early humans were deliberately using those sharp stones and shells to remove facial hair. They were actively choosing a groomed look over an overgrown one. Fast forward just a bit, and we find the earliest direct evidence of complex, highly deliberate hairstyling. And it comes from ancient sculptures of women created between 25,000 and 28,000 years ago. These amazing artifacts tell us that grooming had officially evolved from basic survival hygiene into genuine, intentional artistic expression. Seeing the Venus of Willendorf alongside the Venus of Brossenpui gives us undeniable proof of intricate hairdressing. If you look really closely at the heads of these sculptures, you don't see wild, matted hair. No way. You see deliberate, geometric patterns. You see meticulous braiding. That kind of styling takes serious time, effort, and, honestly, a community that truly values aesthetic appearance. So let's trace this incredible timeline to really see how it all builds. We start way back, an astounding 3.3 million years ago, with the practical necessity of shark stone tools in Kenya. Then by 30,000 BCE, we see this grooming reflected in cave art, showing purposefully beardless faces. And then, just a few thousand years later, physical sculptures are showcasing highly complex braided hairstyles. It's just a fascinating journey from basic, practical tool-making straight into artistic self-expression. To wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this thought. We so often look back at the Stone Age as this era of pure, primitive survival, totally disconnected from how we live today. But the evidence clearly shows that human vanity, self-care, and the desire to style ourselves, those are timeless traits. If our ancient ancestors were using oyster-shell tweezers and bone combs tens of thousands of years ago, how different are we really from them today? Thanks for exploring this history with me. Keep asking questions and keep looking deeper into the past.